back to the second session of statistics. In the last session, we have discussed about the definition and the benefits or uses of the statistics we have discussed in the last class. And in the today's session, let me talk about some of the basic concepts of statistics. If you know the basic concept, then you can easily understand the further concept. Now, here in the last class, just you recall your memory. Last class again discuss ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ definition and with the one example. Definition, what it says, it's a collection, presentation, organization, analysis and interpretation of numerical data with the example of one student. One student, Rama, has got a different marks in different subject that you have studied in the last class. That means I have considered only one student as an example. One student ಅನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ consider ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. Suppose if I wanted to test the strength or percentage, college percentage, if I wanted to check, at that time I have to investigate or I have to consider every student marks I have to consider. ನನಗೆ college percentage ಅನ್ನು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? Not only the one student marks, I need all the student marks. That means I am going to consider all the units. That is, first of all, before defining population, you should know what is meant by units. Units, it is an object whose characteristics are studied, is called as a unit. Suppose if I consider one student as an object, I am going to study his or her characteristics. I have to list. What are the characteristics? It may be height ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, or it may be weight ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, or else his talent ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್, these are all the his or her characteristic. I can make out the list. Height, weight, marks. These are all what? These are all the units. Object whose characteristic. Characteristic means these are all the characteristic. Height is a characteristic. Weight is also characteristic. And marks is also his characteristics or score, performance of the student in an examination. These are all the characteristic of an object. Suppose if I consider animal characteristic or fruits characteristic, that it may be sweet or ಇನ್ನೇನು characteristics ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. So the object whose characteristics are studied are called units. So now when it comes to the population definition, so it is totality. That means total number of units I have to consider. Totality of all units under consideration is known as a population. For example, I have listed three sets of, here is the three examples you can give. One is a total strength of a college. Total strength of a college, that means when, suppose if I ask what is the strength of a college, so that may be 100,000 students are studying in the college. Then what you have to say? You have to say exactly the 1000. ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂತ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಡ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, each and everyone you have to consider. That is called as a population. Population ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು? Each and every units I have to consider. And if you want the next example, height of 50 students in a class. Assume that in a classroom containing 50 students, in a classroom only 50 students are there. Then I need to consider all 50 students. That means each and every student's height I need to consider. That means population I am going to consider here. And if I move on to the next example, your total number of alphabets in English. If alphabets ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ they are going to say exactly this 26 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾರಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ 26 ಅಂತಾನೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. All because I have ordered here total number of all the alphabets in English. So that is we are including all the units under consideration is known as a population. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬಿಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. Suppose there are many situations can occur. So sometimes the sum of the observation can be counted and some of the observation may not be possible to count it. At that time, what we call under population there are two categories. One is a here finite population and another one is a infinite population. Before going to that topic, just make a note here definition of statistics and take the example of it. Barcode idana yakante helidre if you are simply listening to lecture it won't be work out. So next is a finite and infinite population. Before going to that, you should know what is meant by finite and what is meant by infinite. So here I write this finite and infinite numbers. Finite, infinite. So here finite number means here the number of units or the number of observation we can count it very easily, then we call it as a finite number of observation. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂತಹ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಫೈನೈಟ್ ನಂಬರ್. whereas infinite many numbers, because infinite many numbers which is may not be possible for us to count it. ಆದರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So that is why we call it as a infinite. This is countable units and here it is not countable. ಯಾವುದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು? What is all of the things which we can count it? As I given previous example, in the previous example ಅಲ್ಲಿ number of or strength of a college. Strength of college ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ easily we can count it. Number of students ಅನ್ನು investigate ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ admission list ಅನ್ನು check ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ easily we can get the strength of that college. So this we can count it. Number of students in a class or number of students in a classroom or college. Class, particular class or colleges. This can be easily counted. For example, simple examples, number of fingers in a two hands. Two hands ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು fingers ಇದೆ ಅಂತ easily check ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಯಾರು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So number of fingers or number of alphabets. When the numbers are less, then you can easily count it. Next, when we come to the infinite many numbers, what are the things which are not able to count it? So some of the things are there. For example, stars in the sky. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಥವಾ number of stars ಏನಿದೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. At that time it is may not be possible for us to count the stars. Number of stars here. Stars in the sky. And One more example I can give here. Number of dots in a line. If a line is drawn, suppose if I draw the line, there are infinitely many dots are there. So it is also not possible us to calculate or count it. So this is also one of the example for countable. Infinitely many numbers here. Lines or dots in a line. So these are the examples of finite and infinitely many numbers here. Now, when we move on to the finite population, when we are talking about finite population or infinite population, you have to link it with the population. So it is just a information. So here, if I add or if I consider the students, the population of a student or population containing finite number of units, then we call it as a finite population. Population alli finite number anta helidrenu countable number of units idre. Countable number of units idre adenne heltave finite population. Whereas infinite population, a population containing infinitely many numbers, then we call it as a infinite population. ನಿಮಗೆ ಫೈನೈಟ್ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಥವಾ ಫೈನೈಟ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಇನ್ಫೈನೈಟ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾದ್ರೆ ಫೈನೈಟ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಫೈನೈಟ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ಲಿ. Just write it down. Now after this, some of the characteristics you can see. This is a particular unit. Suppose if I consider one student as an object. Suppose if I listed out the characteristic of a boy or a girl, I can make out or I can list out the characteristic. What are all the characteristics? I have listed here. It may be weight, or it may be height, or marks, skin color, and IQ. Or many other things we can list out. So here, these are the characteristics I have listed out here. First, what are the measurable things and may not be measurable. Measurements are not possible things. Let us make out now. So, now move on to the next definition. Qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is nothing but it is a quality of a particular object. Particular object of a student consider ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ it is her or his quality. Quality it is may not be possible to measure it numerically. Quality which is not possible us to measure numerically. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, if I ask the height of that student, he may say my height is 150 centimeter or 155 centimeter. Like that he will say in terms of numbers. Correct, right? Height or maybe weight in terms of kgs you are going to represent it. Weight or height, height and weight you are going to tell in terms of numbers. So here quantitative characteristic. But some of the characteristics that may be skin color, IQ of that student, we can't say in terms of numbers because cannot be possible us to measure numerically. Numbers alli helike ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Not be possible us to measure in terms of numbers. Here, whereas quantitative data which easily can measure it. Measure numerically. Numbers alli helbodu. Yavada things anna numbers alli helbodu. Here I have listed out the characteristics. Here weight we can say in terms of numbers, as well as height we can say in terms of numbers, mass you can say in terms of numbers. But these two things, skin color and IQ of the student, ಈಗ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಪರ್ಸನ್ ವೇರಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. IQ ಮೆಮರಿ ಪವರ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಪರ್ಸನ್ ವೇರಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅಟ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು explain in terms of numbers. So I can these characteristics I can ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಬಹುದು, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ I have to input it. One is quantitative and qualitative. Just recall it. ಯಾವುದು measurable and ಯಾವುದು measure ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, first one is qualitative data which is not possible us to measure numerically. Numerically ಯಾವುದು ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ measure ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ, skin color and IQ of the student. So I have to include IQ and the skin color in the qualitative data. Qualitative data. Example, I can take as an example IQ and skin color. Skin color ನಾನು ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ include ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, qualitative data ದಲ್ಲಿ include ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Whereas these three characteristics, weight, height and the mass, so I can represent, I can say in terms of numbers so that I can include these characteristics in quantitative data. Quantitative data are weight, height, mass, etc. ಇನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮೆಷರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಯಾವುದನ್ನ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೋ ಅಂತಹ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್. Whereas qualitative, which is may not be possible us to express in terms of numbers. So these are the two types of characteristics. So these are the two types of characteristics. One is a qualitative and another one is a quantitative. I'll give two more examples. If I give examples, then you can clearly understand what is qualitative and what is quantitative. Now, for example, if you know what are can be expressed in terms of numbers and what are the things which cannot be possible us to measure numerically, if you got a clear idea, then it is easiest one. Now, here, for example, here, the number of or height of students, height of 50 student, height of a student is 150 centimeter. Height of or average height of 50 students is equal to 150 centimeter. Next, one more example, example 1, 2, and next is a skin color or beauty of a lady. Beauty of a lady. So, in these two examples, which one is expressed in terms of numbers and which are the Which are the examples which is not possible us to measure numerically? Let us see. I'll give one more example. And weight of the student is 50 kg. 50 kgs. Now, here we have to make the difference here. So the height of 50 students in terms of centimeters I have mentioned here. That is, we can easily measure it in terms of numbers. Numbers that express ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. So it is which type of data now? It is quantitative data. Quantitative data. Quantitative data. Now, one more example here. Next, beauty of a lady. So, beauty of a lady. ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಲೇಡಿ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಗರ್ಲ್ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಕಂಡ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕಂತ ಏನು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಟು ಪರ್ಸನ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೇರಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಶೂರ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ measure in terms of numbers. ಈಗ 100 ಅಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ 150 ಸೆಂಟಿಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ? No. So such kind of things are coming under which group now? It is qualitative. It is her quality. So qualitative data. Qualitative data. And next thing is weight of the student. Weight of the student is 50 kg. Weight of a particular student is 50 kg here. Then I can express in terms of numbers now. We can easily measure it. Adanna ಏನು ಮಾಡಬಹುದು? Numbers ಅಲ್ಲಿ express ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Such kind of things are coming under which group now? Quality or quantity? Here, yes, it is a quantitative data. Quantitative data. Quantitative data. These are all about quantitative characteristics and qualitative characteristics. So, in this, we have studied here population and units, and here finite number of units, infinitely many number of units, and here quantitative data and qualitative data as we have studied now. Now, sometimes it may not be possible us to consider all the units of a population. At that time, what we have to do? ನಮಗೀಗ each and every person ಅನ್ನು ಹೋಗಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. At that time, we are picking some of the students, or we are selecting the few students randomly. Then it is a representative portion. Representative portion of a population is known as a sample. Sample is a representative portion of population. Representative portion of population. Suppose in a classroom there are 50 students. As in that there are 50 students in a classroom. I will be considering only 5 students. 5 students randomly. ಈಗ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಕಳಿಸಬೇಕು, ಅವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ನಾನು? I am not considering all the 50 students. I will pick only 5 students. 5 students ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ? ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಎ ಇಂದ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಯ್ತು? ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ representative portion of a population. If I consider 50 or total number of students as a population, this is what actually totality of all units means, nothing but population itself. Now, here 50 is considered as a population and 5 students are the representative. ನಾವೀಗ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೇವಂತಾದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಯಾವುದನ್ನ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನು ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Yes sir, here also they are representative. Representative portion of population is known as a sample. So population or sample is a subset of population. Sample ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So the sample and then it is a population. For example, I will consider this is the one example in a classroom containing 50 students and I am going to pick only 5 students out of it. Or else I will be having box of different types of chocolates. 100 chocolates in it. Varieties of chocolates are there. Dairy Milk irbodu, Kit Kat irbodu, varieties of 100 chocolates in it. But I am going to pick only Kit Kat or Dairy and Dairy Milk here. One more chocolate I am going to select it. These are the two representative portion. Two representative portion of what? It is actually population. Population ಇಂದ ನಾನು ಯಾವ್ದನ್ನ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ, only few numbers or few chocolates I am going to consider. This is what actually sample. Sample. Or else, suppose if I have the number of or numbers, if the population containing numbers from 1 to up to 100 ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. But I will select only starting or 10 natural numbers ಅನ್ನ select ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So that is 1 2 3 4 5 up to 10. I am going to pick. This is population if I consider, and this will be sample of a population. These are all the representative portion of a population. So in this class we have discussed population and the finite number of population and infinite, and that we have next discussed qualitative and the quantitative data or characteristics, and the next one is samples. So these are all the important concepts which will be helpful for the further studies. So I am going to conclude this class. In the next class, we will be talking about the different definitions of basic concepts.